Imagine being 12 years old, clicking on something you don't fully understand. Fast forward a few years, you can't go a week without it. You don't talk about it, but it's there. Always. How did this happen? Nobody plans on getting addicted. Nobody clicks that first video thinking, this will change the way I experience life forever. But that's exactly what happens, because addiction isn't about choice. It's about chemistry. There's a moment in nearly every person's life when they first come across pornography. Maybe it was by accident, an unexpected ad, a pop-up, a video someone passed around at school. Maybe it was curiosity, a simple search, a whispered recommendation from a friend. And at first, it seems harmless, just an image, just a clip, just a moment of excitement. But here's where it changes. For some, that one moment planted a seed. A habit begins to form, not overnight, not suddenly, but slowly, almost without noticing. At first, it's a guilty pleasure, something private, something hidden. But over time, it becomes something else, a habit, a routine, and for many, it becomes a dependency. But why? Why does this grip some people so tightly while others seem unaffected? Why does it become something that feels impossible to stop? The truth is, pornography addiction isn't just about desire. It's about something much deeper, something psychological, emotional, even neurological. It's not just a behavior, it's a response to stress, a response to loneliness, a response to boredom, anxiety, even trauma. And once that response gets wired into the brain, breaking free becomes far more than just deciding to quit. Think about it like this. Every habit we form is a response to something. We don't just reach for coffee in the morning because we love the taste. We reach for it because we've trained our body to need it. We don't check our phones every few minutes just because we want to. We do it because we've conditioned our minds to crave that tiny hit of stimulation. Pornography works the same way. At its core, it's not about attraction, it's about relief. A way to escape, to distract, to numb something deeper. For some, that something is stress. Life feels overwhelming, work, responsibilities, pressure piling up. Pornography offers a quick release, a way to shut it all out, even if just for a moment. For others, it's loneliness, the absence of intimacy, the craving for connection. Pornography creates an illusion of closeness, of being wanted, of fulfilling a need that reality isn't providing. And sometimes it's just boredom, a restless mind searching for something, anything to fill the empty spaces. At first, it seems harmless, but here's where it turns into something much bigger. Because, unlike other distractions, pornography doesn't just pass the time, it changes the brain. Every time someone watches pornography, their brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and reward. That dopamine rush reinforces the habit, creating a cycle where the brain learns, this makes me feel good. Do it again. Over time, this cycle rewires the brain. The same content that once excited no longer has the same effect. So the mind craves more novelty, more variety, more stimulation. And as that tolerance builds, something even more dangerous happens. Real life starts to feel dull in comparison. Real relationships, real intimacy, real experiences, they don't deliver that instant high-intensity dopamine hit. They require patience, vulnerability, connection. But a brain wired for instant gratification has no patience for that. It has no tolerance for reality's slower pace. And so the cycle deepens. The more one relies on pornography, the less satisfying reality becomes. And the less satisfying reality becomes, the more one turns back to pornography. Now think about this. When does this cycle actually begin? Most people don't start watching pornography as adults. They start young, too young, before they fully understand what they're seeing, before they've even had real relationships, before they've developed a healthy understanding of intimacy. And that's where the real damage begins. A child's brain is plastic, highly moldable, constantly forming connections based on what it experiences. And when pornography becomes part of that early experience, it doesn't just influence preferences. It shapes beliefs. It sets expectations for what intimacy looks like, for what attraction means, for how relationships should unfold. What happens when someone's first exposure to sexuality isn't through real human connection, but through a screen? They start to believe that what they see is what intimacy is supposed to be. They develop unrealistic expectations. They internalize distorted ideas about relationships, about attraction, about connection, and without realizing it, those early exposures create patterns that follow them for years. For many, this means struggling with real relationships. Emotional connection feels secondary to physical gratification. Real intimacy feels slow, complicated, unpredictable. And when reality doesn't match the fast-paced, instantly gratifying experiences they've conditioned themselves to expect, frustration grows. And so, the cycle continues. But here's what you need to know. This cycle, it can be broken. This isn't about shame. This isn't about guilt. It's about understanding. Because once you recognize the pattern, you can start rewriting the story. If you've struggled with this, ask yourself, what am I really seeking when I turn to pornography? Is it relief from stress? Is it escape from loneliness? Is it just habit? Something that's been there so long that it feels impossible to let go? Whatever the answer is, know this: pornography is never the real problem. It's the symptom, the escape, the Band-Aid covering something deeper. Think about this. When was the last time reality felt better than the screen? When was the last time a simple hug, a real conversation, or even just sitting in silence felt enough? If you can't remember, that's not an accident. It's conditioning. The question is, how much longer are you willing to let a screen dictate your happiness? How many more moments, experiences, relationships will you trade for something that never truly satisfies? If you want to break free, you have to go deeper than just stopping. You have to replace the habit with something better. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into. Because in the next episode, we'll talk about something most people never consider: how social media itself is one of the biggest, most subtle triggers for pornography addiction. It's everywhere. It's designed to be addictive, and without realizing it, millions of people are being conditioned to stay in the cycle even when they're not watching pornography. That's where we go next. The unseen triggers, the algorithms, and how social media keeps people hooked without them even realizing it. For now, just sit with this. Awareness is the first step. Once you see the pattern, you can take back control. Because this isn't just about stopping a habit. It's about reclaiming your mind, your choices, and your future.